Welcome to the DJ the Money Coach Expert Interview Series. I'm Nick, joined as always by DJ the Money Coach, the founder of the Seven Spheres of Money. How you doing today, DJ?
Man, I am fired up, Nick. I think this is going to be the best interview ever because this is a person that's known me for known me for the entirety of my career, to be honest with you, when I first got started. So I'm excited because we can talk about the arc, and this person can testify to the things that we have accomplished and the integrity of our organization and what relationships and friendships are all about. So I'm extremely excited today, man. How about yourself?
I'm great. I'm excited too. And this interview is going to be a little bit different. So before you introduce our expert, why don't you explain to the audience why this interview will be slightly different from the others?
Oh yeah. So, this is actually going to tell about, friendships, about community, and about, having the ability to, be around people that can actually show you the pathway. So this person showed me the pathway. And I looked up to this person. I never told this person this, but showed me what, the future could, be in store for me. And actually starting out as a young professional and actually starting as a young family man, I looked to this person indirectly, but directly to, mold my career and my community. And this person is giving back a tremendous amount to the community that inspired me. And I'll be honest with you, I was not a community-based person in terms of giving back to the community, but seeing all the stuff this person accomplished, it made me want to start giving back to the community sooner than later. So without further ado, I'm talking about this awesome person in third person, like she's not even here. But I want to introduce everybody. And wait, if you don't know me, I'm going to tell my story to you real quickly. I'm DJ the Money Coach, and my claim to fame is that I at one time had a 525 credit score. And when I was coming out of college, I had over $40,000 worth of consumable debt. And within one chapter of one book called Road to Wealth, I read about credit. And within 12 to 24 months, my credit went to 700. And then in 24 months, actually, my credit score went over 800. And I always show people this because a lot of people, they like to see it to believe it. Can you see that?
See it. So
that's 805 credit score. And even when I met this awesome person, my credit was above 800. And my credit's been over 815 consecutive years. 2002, ladies and gentlemen, I became totally consumer debt free. And in 2008, I became financially independent in America, which means I had a 6-figure income and I had a 7-figure net worth. And I helped over 20,000 people come through our program called the Seven Spheres of Money. And today I want to introduce you to this awesome person. Her name is Kathy Anderson. And Kathy and I go back actually to the beginning of my career, when she brought me to full effect to remind me how fast time goes by. But Kathy is an accomplished mom, grandmom. She's a humanitarian. She's a philanthropist. She's a community activist as well. And she's also a very successful investor. And she's also enjoying the pom-pom lifestyle, which is plenty of money and peace of mind. And again, this is not the exception to the rule in our community. This is the rule. So without further ado, I want to introduce everybody to my beloved friend, Kathy Anderson. Kathy, how are you doing today? And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Dale. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it a lot. And all those things you said are really great. I didn't know I had that much influence on the things that happened to you that were actually phenomenal. But I'm recently retired from Hewlitt-Packard, about 1.5 years into retirement. So the majority of my career, probably since 1978, almost all of my career, I've spent in IT. I've been in IT, worked with the electronic data systems that we call EDS, which was Ross Perot's company. I was there for many years until that company was turned over to Hewlett-Packard. And that's where I was until I retired. Working myself up through that as a programmer, applications programmer, supervisor, project manager, and so forth. So it's that position, I think, that gave me the opportunity to do some of the other things I did, because it gave me freedom, gave me a lot of travel and opportunity to meet people, and they encouraged the things that I did. So I worked for the West Humboldt Park, I wasn't working, I volunteered for the West Humboldt Park Development Council, which I've been almost 20 years. And it's a community-based program that supports the community in Chicago, west side of Chicago, one of the poor communities. We've done a number of things there. in terms of having a land trust to build homes. We built affordable homes in that neighborhood. We helped with the economic strip, which is Chicago Avenue. So those are some of the things that I've done. And some of those I still continue to support today. So I have to be involved in something. But that's kind of my backstory, if you will.
Man, that's awesome. So I'm going to move around side by side and not start for any particular pattern, Kathy. But one thing that I would like to know and help you explain to our audience, especially young women out there, you know, high schoolers and college people. When you got started in the computer field, I mean, not only were there hardly any of us, Black specifically, there really weren't any women. So can you talk to the challenges that you had coming up in the computer industry as a Black woman, and what were the rewards and what gave you the ability and encouragement that you could have a successful career that you had?
Yeah, so I started in IT at Continental Bank. Used to be a bank that existed in the Chicago area, and their goal was to train the technologists to program the way they wanted them to program in their bank. So we were a class of 50, only 2 Black women, only 2 Blacks in the entire class, and we made it through that class. And I think all the way through my career, there's always been just 1 or 2. You know, 1 or 2 African Americans in the class. So you really have to perform at a super high level or you drag. It takes you a while to get through. I think I felt that drag a lot when I was at Continental Bank and they were going under, and going to Ross Perot's company, which was EDS, just opened a lot of opportunities for me. They had the open door policy, which is prevalent now at almost any company, where you can talk to anybody about anything. They had a policy of they didn't lay off people, and Ross Perot had all these things going on for his staff, and there was just tons of opportunity. And that's when I started traveling and got involved in just all kinds of things. And really didn't feel, I would say of all the years I worked with Ross Perot, only one time did I was sent on an interview to work with a client in Georgia, and it was clear that I was qualified and I didn't get it.
Oh, wow.
You know, they didn't think that I was the right candidate to come there and work on this system. And it was, you know, my boss told me it was a shoe-in. It was a formality, the interview, but it wasn't successful. That's probably the only time that I really felt, you know, some pushback because of who I am and where I come from. Always just so few. As a matter of fact, the number of Black people that I've met in the industry was so small that we created a group within, I think we're at HP at the time, called BENS. It was the Black Engineers. I can't remember now what it stood for, but it was a group for us to get together, the Black technologists all over the country that were part of HP, so that we could talk and we included things such as Black history or HP. You know, forgive me, I can't remember if it was HP or EDS at this point. But so it was an opportunity for all of us to get together. There were people that I didn't know. You know, I didn't know we had that many African Americans that were a part of the company. So those are some of the, you know, hurdles that I had to get through going through this.
What kind of background did you have coming out of college? I mean, what did you study? Did you study math? Did you study engineering?
Sociology.
Really?
Yes, and I had a minor in math, but
okay.
As I said, when we went to this company, they didn't care. All they wanted you to do is be able to pass this exam. I passed the exam and the interviews, and they said, you're in. We're going to train you. So we were actually trained by IBM. IBM folks came in, did the training for this bank, and, you know, it was just from there. I wouldn't have known about it except my sister-in-law, who was moving to California, and she stayed with me and my husband at the time, and she says, here, I got this. This looks like something you'd be interested in doing. Call these people.
Wow. So kind of like on a lark,
Exactly.
that changed the whole trajectory of your career.
Absolutely. Changed
Wow.
everything.
Man, that is phenomenal. So you've seen everything from a technology standpoint, and it kind of reminds me of that movie that was based on that book, Hidden Figures, where the ladies created that mathematical equation for NASA, and they didn't get the credit for it. So you're kind of like, you know, a pioneer yourself in that regard. Now that I really know the backdrop of your story, because people don't realize EDS was a significantly large organization across the world, yet alone in the country. And I think that's something that people don't understand. And then the ability to network within the network to get the training that required for you to continue to move forward in your career. So how did you start to become an investor? And tell us a little bit about, what you remember when we first met, because you knew more of the story than I knew. I totally forgot, and I apologize for that.
I probably started, my sons were investors when they were in high school. I think computers had just come out, that's how long ago this was, a personal computer. And they were getting certified in this thing and that thing, and they were going online and opening up accounts and really into investors, not as a job. This was, obviously they were still in school. They were like, one was a senior in high school. And that was really the first time, well, maybe not. I think at Continental Bank, I bought stock. And that was the first time that I bought stock. But with this company, with the activities that they went through, it's the first time I got close to, I guess the backstory behind investing, if you will. And from that, it was as a member of the West Humboldt Park Development Council, where we attempted to create an investment club. It originally started out as a club for the high school students to help them to learn about investing. And we didn't get enough kids, we didn't get enough action. But we kept the other part going, and we joined the state organization for investors. I can't think of the name of it right now, I apologize. And took the training, and we, this kept going for a long time. Like I said, the club is still going on. I think there's about 5 active members, but others who don't come. And we look at things that we want to invest in and make decisions about them. We survived the 2008, obviously, problems there, but so those are the things that I did in terms of an investor, and I would say I'm happy to say today too that I'm debt free. All of that stuff. I don't have, and my credit score is 800 and something as well.
Oh, I know that. Like mine, stick together.
But yeah, just getting rid of a lot of stuff, and people really need to understand that. At least what I had to understand was the problems with using credit cards and all that stuff, that really can tie you down. It ties up your money, first of all. So just kind of getting rid of that is one of the big things that I did, and even more so than investing, I think, was that. So I still invest. I'm a member of, from my work, I have an investment opportunity there, but I also have my own personal account with TD Ameritrade. And like I said, my son, he's a crazy investor, so it's just what we do,
Right. So if they start teaching that to our children, I think you said a critical thing is that your sons were doing it in high school, and that's way back. Because if they taught that one element about investing in consumer debt freedom to our people, how much further along do you think we will be, and what will be the significant change in the world for Black people from your perspective?
Oh, I think we'd be way further along than where we are now in terms of being involved in society, in terms of financially. We would be in a position to get a lot of the jobs that we don't have today in the financial industry and in other industries. Investing does more than help grow your money. That's an important part of it, but it gets you out there in terms of analyzing, researching, all those skills that it helps you to build on and improve on. We would be in a whole different position, if we had something like that in our schools, where when I was in high school, they're teaching home ec, and stuff like that. Had we had classes like what we're talking about here, I think it would have just been huge.
So why do you think that they don't teach that? By you working, in West Humboldt Park, and you were dealing with people who are at a disadvantage socially and economically, but you guys built that institution in that community for a reason, and you're seeing fruit on the tree from it. So why do you think that reason is they don't do it? And why do you think more of us that look like us should be involved from a philanthropy standpoint that benefit our community?
A couple of, and these are just my opinions, I don't know for sure. Some of it is fear and hesitation in putting your money out there because you don't know about investing. You don't understand how it works. So it's a risk. And people don't want to take that risk. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I see. They would rather put it, at one point it was in a savings account, but that has no value today. I'm not sure what people do. They want to invest today. But, but, I think it's the risk that they're afraid to take. And if you don't have a lot, risking some portion of it is a higher risk than, maybe you or I might think. So I tell people all the time, because I help people with budgets. I do that today, just as a volunteer, put budgets together. All you gotta do is put a little bit of money aside every time you get paid, a small amount. Let that build until it's worth something to go somewhere and do something with it.
Man, you know what? I just remembered, man, you didn't open up so many doors for me. It just dawned on me that, man, we're going to talk about so much stuff. So this is real awesome. So we met, you reminded me, on an investor search. I was looking for property in Inglewood, and that's where you were an investment. You were a real estate agent, but that was your side hustle, what they would call your side hustle today. But you would call it your part-time job back then. So let's speak to that a little bit, and then if you could share with the audience, why did you engage with me and introduce me to these important people and organizations, and how did I come to earn your trust? So if you can share that with the people, where you were when we met, and how did we start building that relationship that you trusted me, and man, I mean, you literally changed my life, and I mean that literally in terms of the doors you opened up for me. I did the work, but you trusted me to even embark upon that decision.
But when I met you, there was just something exciting about you. I have a son your age. I'm sure I have a couple of sons. I know one of them is close to your age, if not a little older. But there was something engaging about you and exciting. And maybe it was just the way you talk. Maybe I'm, a fool for the way people talk. I don't know. But you had a lot of ideas, and I could see that you were going places. You had a lot of ideas and things that were of interest to you. So the way I operate, I'm more than willing to help anybody get ahead if I have the time, and I can introduce you to the people that I know if they can help you. But I think it was really just the excitement that you brought to the ideas and concepts that you had. And that's really what you need, because that's how you get people engaged, and then you can teach them or share with them, what you have.
Oh wow! Well, thank you. I didn't know that. Thank you very much. That's humbling of itself. Wow. Yeah. So we met. We talked about real estate, and then you introduced me. I think was to your organization in Humboldt Park. I think that was the first thing that you introduced me to, because I just thought about it. You even introduced me to your church, if I'm not mistaken, with Pastor Kathy.
She just retired last week.
Man, I could. What was the name of your church? Because
Edgewater Presbyterian Church.
Edgewater Presbyterian Church. You know what? And that was the first time I had ever met a woman pastor in my life. To be honest with you, it was so cutting edge. It was just blew my top. But I was excited about it. So can we talk a little bit about before the church? Talk about how you introduced me to the West Humboldt Park organization. And let's pick up, man, so much we can talk about. My memory is coming back to me now.
West Humboldt Park organization, our goal was to help the community to become self-sufficient, not to bring a lot of services, although we did do that. But the whole intent was to help them become self-sufficient. That's building the strip, small businesses or whatever type businesses down Chicago Avenue, with housing and with education. So I talked to Bill Howard, was our executive director at the time. Great guy. He was like my mentor. He's retired as well. But talked to them about you and what you had to offer, and thought it might be a good idea at least to let you come and talk to the organization, see if there was something the community could get out of it.
Can I interject right here? Why is it that in our community, other professionals like us don't do that as openly, just like you afforded me? Because I still get that problem right now, even though I'm far more successful than I ever was when I met you. But I actually get more pushback today than I did when I met people like you. Why do we specifically as Black people have a problem meeting other qualified Black people and helping them help their mission, or even just listening to what they have to say? Maybe can you touch on that a little bit and then go back to your story? Because I'll be honest with you, that bothers me today, and that's one of my pet peeves, that we openly don't share information with each other because it's almost like a crab in a bucket mentality versus there's all room at the top of the mountain, which most people don't realize.
And I'm not sure I know, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a cultural thing, maybe something left over from slavery, maybe something left over from people working so hard and thinking, you know, I had to do all this to get from A to B. Why should I give you a shortcut? You know, it really is a mentality. There are people, I told you we created this organization when I was at HP for Black people in the technology industry. And there are some of those guys, and they were all guys, there were a few girls, you know, they still call me. I still keep in touch with them. And, you know, if they want a referral for a position, I just talked to Chad a couple of weeks ago. He lives in Hyde Park. But I would do anything to help him. He's a good guy, you know, and he'll do well wherever I send him. So I think it's just a mentality of it took me a hard time to get here, so, you know, you don't deserve a shortcut. I honestly don't know the answer to it.
Okay. You know what? I never thought about that way. You don't deserve a shortcut. You know, that in there right there, that is what's been indoctrinated in us. But everybody else does that because they understand that's how you create wealth, that's how you create stability, and that's how you advance your community. So right. I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind. You don't deserve a shortcut. Next time I come across somebody with some pushback, I'm gonna say, oh, so you don't think we deserve a shortcut, but somebody provided one for you in some capacity in your life. And I think we fail to remember that. So as we move forward from there, we talked about the program. So I introduced you to the platform that I was teaching. And then you brought me to talk to your group at West Humboldt Park. And then you talked to me and I said, hey, Kathy, who else could benefit from the program? And you said, hey, talk to my church. So that's even more of a trust that you bestowed upon me to talk to your church members, because your church members didn't look like me. And let's keep it real. This is the early 2000s. Even though, you know, it was a liberal community, there still is pushback, especially when you're dealing with people's finances. So what enabled you to have that much faith and trust in me in a short period of time that you trusted me with your church? And if I'm not mistaken, I think I did a great job for them, because I worked with your pastor and her husband, and I helped them out tremendously. And I'm not bragging, but I'm just telling facts.
Same thing. I mean, I saw that you had something and you wanted to share it and you were good at it. You know, I wouldn't hesitate to introduce you to anybody that I thought you could help. And we were talking in my church. We've got a lot of, you know, different committees and activities going on there as well. And one was financial. You know, we know that a lot of people that go to that church don't live in this community. We had a large African population and a large, white. And very few blacks go. Even today, the Black Americans that go to their churches is minority. Mm-hmm. But we, you know, with the financial crisis that happened in 2008, because I think this was after 2008, if I remember correctly, we talked about how we could get some financial education for members of the church. And my first thought came to you. You know, we went to Washington Mutual first, and they gave some simple, basic financial stuff.
Wait. You went to a major bank and they couldn't help you, but DJ the Money Coach helped you guys out. Did you hear that, Nick?
I heard
that. Thank you for that endorsement, Kathy. I appreciate that.
And then, you know, we brought you in, and I guess the rest is history. So I appreciate what you did. You know, my church, you know, they thought I was a smart financial, so they kept asking me, you know, I don't have any financial lean on people, which is, you know, what we all do if it's their area of expertise.
Hey, Nick, and you know what? The stuff that I talked to Kathy and her church about is the same stuff I talked to you about. Consumer debt freedom, financial independence, being the steward of your finances and not spending and buying wants versus needs. And a little quick story. And Pastor Kathy, her pastor, her and her husband, very academically accomplished. If I'm not mistaken, I think both of them had PhDs. I know her husband had a PhD from a what they call it, the
degree they had.
Yeah, it was theory. What's it called? Religion and theology. He had a PhD in theology. Yeah. And so just to show you how people who have high intellect in one area are not, they're clueless about money. So just to give you a little backdrop. So I went and sat down with them in their own house. and I was going over their financials with them. And at the time, I forgot what the organization handles all the religious people from a financial standpoint. So whatever it's a big organization. I'm pretty sure you know, yeah, the Presbyterian Church, but they hire a custodial company that handles nothing but, you know, Cathology, theology professionals. I can't remember the name of the company, but they're huge. They're across the globe. So long story short, Nick and Kathy, I'm sitting down with Pastor Kathy's husband, and I'm looking at some stuff that they set up for him that was just wrong. And I said, hey, you know, there's gaps here and gaps there. And he was like, wow, I can't believe it. So he went back, he wanted to believe me, but he needed to get reinforcement from the people. And when he went back to him and they was like, oh no, we don't do this, don't do that. And at that point, him and Pastor Kathy was like, hey, Dale, take care of all our stuff. I mean, I ended up putting their Roth IRAs together. I redid their financial plan, their estate, and it came a point where they had a problem with getting qualified for a certain type of life insurance. And I'm just telling you a general part of the story. I'm not telling specifics. But the more of the story was they had some challenges because we all have some illness or some hereditary things that are in your genes. So they needed to get their things reconstructed. And I showed them another company that was a smaller company that handled specifically their costs, that actually lowered their insurance costs and actually made it better. And then here's the thing. The people got the paperwork mixed up and they didn't do it right in terms of processing it sometimes. Because a lot of times we take business from another company, Kathy and Nick, what they do is they try to put barriers to losing that business, especially when they hadn't needed to service it anymore. Because they had been with this organization for a long time. So what ended up happening is their premiums at one point in time didn't get transferred. And what I went back and did is I paid their premiums because I recommend them to the company and they got it wrong. And then while the premiums were paid so they wouldn't be without insurance, I made sure those people got it paid. And I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but that's some of the things that happen to people that have high levels of education because they don't focus on their financial plan. And then even when we sat down, I actually did Kathy's financial plan too. And Kathy will tell you, we help her get her Roth IRA set up with Melvin. And
Roth IRA, insurance, all of that.
Yep. And then that's when you introduced me to Monica and Mrs. Brown, and we set them in motion, which led to the guy that changed my life totally, which is Harold. Can we talk a little bit about Harold? Because I mean, Harold, he literally, Nick, he invested the first thousands of dollars in the 7 spheres of money when nobody else would. I mean, he literally cut me a check and said, hey man, if this is what it's going to take to get your business off the ground, I didn't sign any contract with him. It was just a handshake and I was just blown away. And I might have only known Harold at that point for maybe 60 days.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy's phenomenal. Now, I don't know him even as well as you. I know Doris.
Right.
But I just talked to Doris yesterday. We were talking about Harold just yesterday. And he has investments. He's a total entrepreneur. He's got things that you probably would not even imagine. I mean, things that Monica still realizing.
Yep. We've been talking about it every day.
I talked to Harold and my brother, you remember that had the barbershop on Chicago Avenue?
Oh yeah, yep.
So Frank wanted to get into the cannabis investment entity, if you will.
Yep.
So Doris said, well, you should talk to Harold. And we did. Well, Harold's got a farm.
Yep.
Up in Michigan. It was a blueberry farm, but now he's growing cannabis.
Cannabis, yep.
So anyway, we talked with him to get advice, but that's the kind of person that he is. He'll give you whatever he can to get you going. And according to Doris, it's in their blood. It's in his dad was like that, his granddad, and so on. Whatever the causing is, the fact that he's willing to share it, I think is the point I'm trying to get across.
It's amazing, Nick. If we had that mentality across the board with everybody in our community, there'll be no stopping us. I mean, literally would be no stopping us. Because when I met Doris, I sat down with her again and I told her some things about how 401ks work versus the Roth IRA. Because Roth IRAs are popular now. But back then, Kathy, people were really suspect about this Roth IRA thing. Well, I mean, truth be told, they said, tell the truth, shame the devil. So this is back in 2003, 2004, 2005. And when I brought out the mindset of talking to black people about Roth IRA and return on premium, dude, they thought I was talking blasphemy. And they thought I was some type of shyster. I'm just keeping it 100. But when I showed them the hard numbers on how that thing worked and why we're not using it, the paradigm shift. So I sat down with Doris, and I remember getting her to get on board with it, and she was doing well. I was like, "You're about to going to be retiring, and you're going to get hit with this big tax bill." And I remember talking to her and her husband in their living room, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm not." I said, "Miss Brown, just look it up." I said, "Last thing I'm going to do is lie to you." And she looked it up. She was like, "Oh yeah, you're right." I said, "Yeah, let's get you this Roth IRA started." And because her husband owned the vending machines with Harold.
Right. And she retired about 5 years ago, so they're, you know.
Exactly. And so setting them up like that, and then another thing was just the transference of wealth and the condominiums and having expertise in that lane. And where Kathy came in, Nick, is that she had a real estate license, and she was telling me how certain things that I could get cut out of, you know, overcharges, title fees unnecessarily. That's how I started to develop my expertise in these lanes. I really indirectly, without Kathy knowing, started leaning on your knowledge that you were giving me for my own personal benefit. And when I saw it worked, I started sharing that information with everybody else, Kathy. I started telling people, hey, you can negotiate this. You can eliminate these processing fees. You can eliminate that. And you can change this. And they were like, where are you getting? I said, because I'm working with people who know how to do this stuff. And we doing it on a regular basis. So that excites me, that how can we help the young people today get engaged in that process? What will be some good words of wisdom that you can share with them, not alone to just being open-minded to us sharing information, but what will be 1 or 2 steps on the real estate side that you can lead them in the right direction, Kathy?
Yeah, that's a hard one, you know, because a lot of young people, they don't have the, they don't have the finances at the time, but it's really just talking to them about it and letting them know the value of having real estate. You know, that it's a tool. You know, it's an investment tool, really, that'll have returns on it that you can use for other things. I don't know how to, and I guess I struggle here with trying to bring that down to a level where a person in high school would understand and appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You know, my son did it, and my 2 grandsons, the one that's in the Air Force, he totally got it. You know, he's an investor today. He's only 21 years old. He's an investor. But if they don't have that interest, you know, it's hard to share. So you probably need to make it fun or interesting.
Okay.
You know, some kind of clubs in the schools maybe, or something like that, to get them engaged in it. So if it's fun, you know, it's IT related, obviously, it's technology related to get in there. And if you can make it fun and kind of almost a gaming thing, you can get them in there. I would do anything to get them in there. That's the first thing.
We kind of got to trick them a little bit for them to get the message.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I get that. So from an investment standpoint, what are you excited about for the future for your grandchildren? I mean, because obviously one of the biggest things that we have at the end of the road is that we end up leaving an empty bag, and we're got the hat out typically in our community, and people are paying for people's funerals and all that good stuff. So one of the things that I like people to know, that this is the norm. I mean, this is you're part of my network. And you've been part of my network for 2 decades, just about. And if I didn't have you part of my network, I wouldn't be free in America myself. So how do we help our kids and our kids' kids, you know, have those advantages and be unapologetic about it from using these tools?
You know, my son Kevin, we've talked about this a bit. We say it's a gap in what Black people do for their families and for their kids. You know, they don't pass it on. You know, it doesn't become generational, so that when you do well, they don't send it on to the next generation. So we've talked about, and what I've done, I've set up a trust.
Oh man, let's talk to that, because I talk to people about. So let's talk about that trust and why you set it up for your grandkids.
Right, I've got a trust set up, and I've made my son Kevin the executive of that. You know, say just should anything happen, but I've got things specifically set aside for them. My 401k, you know, I don't use it. I don't need to use it. And I'm with, I found out that I can reinvest it, because I'll be 70 this year. So after that, you have to take money out of it. But
yep. Well, actually, they moved it back to 72 and a half now. You know that? Yep, right. It was 70, but now they just moved it in January to 72 and a half. But go ahead, continue.
So anyway, so I have that set up, you know, and I have property that I own here. I own some property up in Michigan. Everything is in here. And my son even had the thought, I don't have enough money to make this a reality, but maybe we should just have a board, you know, and have them manage the money. It's not that much money, but how it gets used and who uses it. And in order to be on the board, you got to have this education. So if you don't, get the education, don't even think you'll be on the board in the future. So now I got 5 grandchildren.
Wow. Let me interject right here. You said something major, that a family limited trust, you develop a board, and it's called concierge services. So that's where you can do succession planning, and each one of them have a vote. This is the reason why the Walmart family is in the top 10 all the time. I read Sam Walton's autobiography 25 years ago, and his father-in-law told him, Sam, set up a family limited trust so each person has a vote, and they have to have a certain level of education in order for them to participate. And it also will eliminate any bickering or any breaking up of the legacy and the wealth that you have, be it $1 or be it 100 million. Only your percentage of vote will have an impact versus you going into probate and stuff like that. What you just said, Kathy, is revolutionary, but it's not revolutionary in the majority of the world we look at from our limited, focal point. So if everybody, like you said, no matter how much money you have, but the fact you have that mindset and you implement it now, it benefits 3 generations, because the transference and the education is the form and the principles of success that your kids and your kids' kids will only know. That's their norm. Oh man, I'm excited.
The thing that really made us think of that is that, I've got these kids. I have 2 sister-in-laws who have no children, and they're in my age group and doing quite well. And so the conversation, and we haven't had it with them, was to engage them into this conversation, because they're always talking about what they want to do for their nieces and nephews. My kids are their only nieces and nephews,
Wow.
So, so we put this board together, and, obviously they would be on the board right now and, would have some control and authority, as well as myself and my son, Kevin. So, I would encourage you to do that yesterday and look up what's called a diamond trust. Look up these 2 trusts, a diamond trust and a family limited trust. And if you need some more information about it offline, give me a call, give Melvin a call, because that's what we set up for most of our clients that are at your level now. It's called a diamond trust and a family limited trust. And it's exactly the tools that you need right now. And it will eliminate almost 70% of all your tax consequences from generational wealth. Okay. Yeah, I've got it written down. Yep. So with that said, so from there, we covered background, we covered your trajectory through your career, we covered your philanthropy. What are some takeaways that we should embark upon, that we want to talk to, like you said, talk to the high schooler, talk to that person in college, and let's talk to that retired person like yourself, that they may have not done things right, and we can give some tips of what they can do. Because I remember with Doris, she was when I met her, she had to be like in her 60s when I met her. She's in her 80s, so she was even older than that. Right, and the reason why I point that out is that she was like, well, it's too late for me to make any changes. But 20 years later, she's still here, and she didn't need that money. She was about to have a 60-70% tax consequence. So can we speak to that a little bit? Because it's never too late to make change. Right, and probably the best way to get to that group, because a lot of people that I know in that group are involved in community organizations, or at least they were, is to go out and talk, like you did in the very beginning. Go out and talk to the folks in those groups, or even in senior homes. I'm not sure how the structure is in some of these where, it might be beneficial just to go there and talk. But it's really reaching out to those groups and talking to them, either in the community organizations they belong to, or in the senior housing where they live. They may have a board. I'm just thinking of one lady I just saw at the store the other day, somebody I hadn't seen in 20 years. And she said she's on the board of an organization, community home. If you will. Okay. And these are apartments, not, these are people that are able to take care of themselves. Right. So it's going to the board and talking to the people in the homes, getting them an understanding of what you do and where they are, trying to fill that gap. I'm curious, Kathy, are you a member of AARP, out of curiosity? I am. And you know what? That's like taboo in our community too.
Every person that I deal with, when I turned 50, I became a member of AARP proudly because immediately opened up 20% discounts on most of the stuff I was using. And then it had leverage and power and things I was going to use in the future. And I'm like, you would be foolish not to be involved with AARP. $16 a year. And I'll give you an example, Nick, how AARP just impacted me. You know, I'm going to Destin for the graduation for my son. We're going to Florida next week. I got a budget rental car. I'm picking it up on Saturday. A full-size SUV for 9 days with AARP tax out the door. You're about to throw up $270.
Not because I did the same thing. I was my niece, one of my sisters lives in New Jersey, so my niece got married. This was last September, and my mom, who's 96 years old, she wanted to go. She didn't want to fly, so we rented this big SUV thing. I mean, you know, real comfortable and got all the bells and whistles. It was $200 and something. You know.
You hear that, Nick?
I go to New Jersey.
Nick, you should be getting excited, young man. I mean, Nick, how old are you? 28?
29.
29.
Yeah.
So Kathy, we just getting Nick started. But Nick, guess what? You're looking at 2 generations. It's literally, I'm one, Kathy's one, actually 3, because you're the 3rd one. So this is your future if you just follow the blueprint. Would you agree with that, Kathy? If he just follows the blueprint, you should have 10 times what we have.
And you got to share it. Don't forget that part.
Exactly. And sharing it. So, man, I could talk to you forever, Kathy, and we got to talk when I get to Chicago in a couple of weeks. So here's what I like to do. I would like to ask you to come back and let me do a part 2 with you, because 20 years we can't get stuff into 40 minutes, obviously. And Nick, is this some great stuff or what?
Oh man, I got a lot, you know. Yeah, I got a lot. It's gonna be hard for me to narrow it down to a few bullets. Yeah,
I mean, I just not. And here's the thing: I'm most excited when you are successful by God's, you know, laws. The humility. You don't have to be braggadocious. You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to be, you know, difficult with people. And I know I'm a very high energetic person, but deep down, I'm like Kathy. I'm the person next door, and the giving and the servitude is what I'm all about. And Kathy embodies that from A to Z. And I'm so happy and honored to be called a friend of Kathy's. So Kathy, can you give us a 30 second, you know, your parting shots to our group out here, and you know, tell them what you're excited about for your grandchildren and what they should be excited about, because I firmly don't believe in playing the victim. What's happening in our country right now, it's been happening for decades. It's just on social media now. So we can impact ourselves financially, and we can add justice and equity. I don't believe in fair, because fair is where you go, pigs get slaughtered at and you win prizes. I believe in justice and equity and ownership. And Kathy is all about that, because you could tell through her story that she just told us over the last 40 minutes. So Kathy, what's your parting words with us? And again, I really appreciate you taking time to share with us your pom-pom lifestyle.
Well, thanks again, Dale. But I would say, at least for the young people that have a dream, have a mentor to help you make that dream a reality, and go for it. You know, you shouldn't let anything stand in your way, even if you don't, if financial or what, you know, go after your dreams. And if it doesn't work, you find another one. You know, you don't let any obstacles, you just keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. In terms of how you invest, how you live your life. You know, you just don't stop. You don't let things stall you.
Oh man, that is fun. So Kathy, how can people get in touch with you for your community philanthropy? Because you said you got 1 more year left. What's the name of the organization again? Because I'm a Chicagoan as well. So people always ask me, what are some organizations we could support, put our time, our money, and our talent behind? And your organization is definitely one of them. So can you tell us the name of the organization again, where it's located, and what's the contact information that we can get in touch with them? And if we can get in contact with you, if you're on platforms like Facebook or et cetera. And we'll put that in the link below after this interview is completed.
So it's the West Humboldt Park Development Council. And again, they help residents as well as the business district to improve and grow. And they have a website. They're on Twitter, and you just look up West Humboldt Park, and you should find it on both of those. And I'm sorry, I don't know the phone phone
Oh,
number
no
by
problem.
heart.
Nick will look it up. No problem.
But yeah, so it's still very active board. You know, they've got about 9 members on the board. We've gone through a little bit of turmoil, but we survived it. Still got our feet on the ground. So yeah, and they're always willing to help, especially if you've got a business you want to start. They know how to do all the programs downtown in terms of getting you the money and the licenses and whatever you need to get your business going. And we're very active in the block clubs as well.
Oh man, that is awesome. So Nick, what did you learn today, man? I know you said it was a lot, but give us 1 or 2, 3 things that you learned, and we'll wrap this thing up, and we'll thank our great guest and my great friend Kathy for her time.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Kathy, for sharing your story and for your contributions to the community. The first thing that I'll say is it's never too late to make a change, but it's also never too early to get started. The second thing is, like DJ teaches in the 7 Spheres of Money, achieving the pom-pom lifestyle is a team sport. And we learned this from listening to this conversation. And also, advancing as Black people is also a team sport. And with that being said, you don't limit your own advancement by helping others. That's another key thing. And the last thing that I want to say is, take a look at the friends in your circle. You know, I could just leave it right there. I won't tell you what to do about those friends, but take a look at the friends in your circle. You see DJ and Kathy's friendship. Our friendships should mirror that. And I'll just leave it right there.
Wow, man, that's a drop the mic. I mean, if woo, Nick, that's drop your mic. So again, I'm DJ the Money Coach. This is Kathy Anderson and my great friend of 2 decades. And I always want to end with this, and I sincerely mean this. I think everybody deserves to have a pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money, and that's peace of mind. And I want you all to come join us on the Beaches of the World Club, because you can't take it with you, you know, at the end of the day. And this has been the best interview we ever done. If you like this video, subscribe, share, and live the best life you can live, because you only got one, and share your talents with everybody, especially one-to-one in our community. So this is DJ the Money Coach. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Nick. And I'll see you again on the Beaches of the World Club. Goodbye.